Hello and welcome to the basement. Today we're going to have a look at this little Mac, see if we can get it working. So the Macintosh SE was introduced in 1987, with this model here being the FD-HD, and that came along in 89. And the difference between the two models is the FD-HD added some 1.44 megabyte floppy drives, and the original only had 800k floppy drives, so a lot more storage per disk. So here we are with the little Mac, and you might have remembered from a previous video I did where I was looking at all the new arrivals into the basement. We had a quick look at this machine and it didn't boot past the Welcome to Macintosh sign on the screen there. So what I might do is I've connected a keyboard and mouse, I'll turn it on and we'll see if it's still suffering from that same issue, or maybe it's magically fixed itself while it's been sitting on the shelf. You never know. So let's turn it on. Okay, so it looks like it's still stuck on that Welcome to Macintosh screen. It's not getting any further than this. It should be starting to load extensions down the bottom and eventually get into the desktop. So what I might try first is having a look at the RAM, because I'm assuming it's trying to load things into RAM so that we can so it can serve it to the processor, and if there's an issue with the RAM, then that might be why it's freezing in this step. So I'll turn it off, pull it apart, and we'll reset the RAM and see if that fixes the issue. Okay, so here's the machine, and to pull it apart we are first going to take out these travel protectors for the floppy drives, and then there are some screws on the back here. As you can see, I'll put it on this old towel, stop it getting scratched, and these look like Torx or star drive bits, so I'll find the right bit for those and we'll pull the case off. Great, so Torx T15. So now in theory this should just slide off, just like that. And there we go. So that's the inside of the Mac. You can see the inside of the case. You've got all the classic signatures. Quite a neat feature of these machines. The signatures really refer to the original Macintosh, the team that made the original Macintosh, but they reused the same molding for these later models, so that's why the signatures are still in there, including Steve Jobs, who had left by this stage. This machine came out. Right, so safety advice, don't touch whatever's behind here without discharging it first. I don't have anything to discharge it, so I'm just going to leave it alone. And the RAM, where is the RAM? The motherboard looks to me that it is on the bottom of the machine, under the shielding. So let's get the shielding off. Great. So there's the bottom of the motherboard, and it looks like it slides out, but before we can slide it out we're going to have to disconnect everything that's connected to it, which looks easier said than done. I haven't pulled one of these apart before, so this is a whole new learning experience for me. So first things first, I'll just start undoing some screws and getting further down into the machine. So we've got the twin floppy drives here and the hard drive on top. It's a Connor CP3100. It doesn't say how big it is, but it's probably not very big. So we want to remove this hard drive next, but I'm not quite sure how it's attached. Right, that allows the hard drive to come out. Great. So there's the hard drive. Look at the size of it. What a chunky beast. Right, now I can actually get my hands down in here to disconnect the things from the motherboard. So this is the hard drive cable, and this is the floppy cable. Let's see if we can pull that out. There we go. Oh, there's two of them. Alright, well they both came out, that's handy. And this hard drive cable, we'll try and remove that. It's going to be fun getting these things back in. What else have we got? Power cable, so we'll take that out. Okay. Easy does it. Got it. Oh, where did this go? Oh, that's a worry. It goes to the speaker probably. Oh, we'll sort that out later. Right, here we have the motherboard. As you can see, it's pretty dusty, but looks okay. It's fully populated in the RAM section, so I'm not sure how much RAM it's got. It's got a battery here, which is probably had it, but let's pull it out and run a multimeter on it and just have a look. So no sign of corrosion, which is good. Yeah, it's got nothing in there. 1.34 millivolts. Now I don't have a replacement one of these, so I am going to put it back in just for now, in case it needs it in there for it to run. But what I'll do is go pick up a replacement and swap it out as soon as I get back into town and can get to the shop that sells them. So let's have a look at our RAM, and I'll pull it out and reseat it and see if that fixes our issue. So what I'm going to do is just quickly clean those contacts with a bit of IPA and just slide everything back in. There's no real sign of corrosion, so it may be that some of the RAM's just gone bad, but we can't really test it without a working machine. I'm just trying to eliminate variables at this stage. And it looks like I've found where I pulled the audio cable off. As you can see here, there's some poor little bent pins, so I will straighten those up with some tweezers. And that's something to look out for when we pull the board apart again, is to remove that audio cable. Now while I've got the board apart, I'm going to just give it a quick dust, so I'm just going to find a brush and brush off all the dust that's lying around before I put it back in the machine and test it out. Okay, it's looking a bit cleaner. Let's put the RAM back in. I'll put it in the same order that it came out, just in case that means anything. Slightly delicate because they're just plastic catches and they feel very brittle, so it's a little bit nerve-wracking. Now as far as this board goes, it all looks pretty good. There's no sign of anything leaking that I can see. The capacitors look okay. None of them are bulging noticeably. And there's certainly no evidence of any leakage or any corrosion, so that's quite a good sign on this board. Makes me quite happy, and that I'm sure we're going to have a working machine. So let's put it back together and see if it works. Okay, everything's back together enough for us to try it out and test it. I'll plug in this keyboard and mouse again, and we'll turn it on and see if we can get past that screen we were stuck on before. Okay, and turning it on. Okay, so that doesn't look like it's worked. It's still stuck on the screen and it doesn't seem to be getting anywhere. So I'm just going to leave it for a while and have a little think about what we're going to do next. Okay, I've had a bit of a think about it, and what I want to try next is to boot off a floppy disk. So I'm going to throw a floppy in here. The reason being is because we saw how old that hard drive is. There's a high chance it's failed. So to eliminate that, we want to boot off a floppy disk. Now I had a look around in my stash of things. I don't have any bootable OS 7 floppies. What I did find was this Apple tour of the Macintosh Plus disk. And I'm hoping that this is bootable. So this is the only thing I can think that possibly is bootable. So I'll throw it in and we'll turn the computer on and we'll see if it'll boot off that, and we can continue to troubleshoot this machine. Let's turn it on. I can hear it booting off the floppy, so it looks like it is a bootable floppy. That's a relief. And it's bypassing the hard drive and loading something, so we know that the RAM's fine. I'm not worried about that anymore, and I do suspect thoroughly that it's the hard drive. If you've used this tour before, you may skip to the main menu by clicking the mouse button. Oh, nothing's happening. Right now, thousands of people are using the Apple Macintosh computer to get things done. You can too. Well, can we though? If I move the mouse, I can't see anything. I can't see any pointer or anything moving. And there's certainly nothing happened when I click the mouse. Now, this keyboard doesn't appear to be working either. So what I actually suspect is that there is an issue with the ADB, the Apple Desktop Bus, preventing any input from the keyboard and mouse. Now, it's not a common issue, but this can happen when a mouse or keyboard is disconnected or reconnected while the computer's on. It can actually blow something on the circuit board. So let me turn the machine off and we'll do some more troubleshooting to see if we can get the peripherals working. Okay, so we're looking at the bottom of the circuit board here. I've done some research, and the thing that blows is a line filter, which is in behind these points here. So we should be getting continuity across each of these points. So what I'm going to do now is just turn on the multimeter, set it to continuity, and we should get a beep across each of these terminals. That one's fine. That one's fine. That one's fine. And I think that might be the issue. Now, from my understanding, you can just bridge these and make the keyboard and mouse work again. So I'm going to try that out as a temporary solution. So I've got this piece of wire. I'm just going to solder it across these terminals and then snip it off, and we'll turn it on and see if that fixes the keyboard issue. Okay, so let's turn it on again and see if the mouse and keyboard are working. Oh, that's a funny noise. Right, so the mouse still isn't working and the keyboard still isn't working. That fix, which I thought might fix it, bridging those two terminals, stopped the machine from turning on. So I've reinstated it back to how it was, and it's turning on again, but we still don't have any mouse and keyboard. So I'm going to do some further investigation. I think the next thing we should probably check is to double check that these things actually work. So I might get my PowerBook Duo, and I know that they work on that, so I'll just double check and I'll connect them to that, make sure that they do work fine, and then we'll continue to troubleshoot this little Mac. Uh-oh, what is that? It does not look good. Okay, after blowing up the first power supply, I do have a spare, so I've connected that, and I'm just firing up the PowerBook Duo, and we're going to test out if the keyboard and mouse works. Right, so here we are in the desktop. I'll just make a new folder and then type something into the folder. Does this keyboard work? Yep, so that looks like it's working. So keyboard and mouse working. We've eliminated that variable. So it's back to the drawing board with the old Mac, and we'll try and do a bit of research and figure out what's actually going on with it. Okay, you're joining me a couple of days later, and I've done a bit of research, and I actually found a wiring diagram on the web for a couple of other people who had the same issue with the keyboard and mouse not working. And what I'd read is if you short these terminals out, it just bypasses that filter and makes them work again. Now we did short this one out, and it made the computer behave strangely. It wouldn't even turn on, so I disconnected it again back to how it was originally. But what I have noticed is by following that diagram I found, there's 5 volts coming in on this point here, which bridges over to here, and then from here it goes into the mouse and the keyboard. But for some reason, there's continuity between this point and this point here. Now this point here goes to earth, so that could mean that when we bridge this out, it's sending 5 volts into here and straight to earth instead of sending it where it's supposed to go, and that was causing the issues where it wouldn't turn on. So what I might do is actually desolder this entire filter and then just check if there's still a short from here to here, which there shouldn't be according to the diagram. So we'll have a closer look at this filter, and we'll see if these 2 points are bridged the way that I think they might have been if something's blowing inside and it's shorting out. Okay, so we should be getting continuity across the pins. And this is the one where I suspect is the issue. And if we look on there, there's nothing at all. It's just open circuit, which is why I bridged that one. But then we had the issue because if we put it on here and here, we can see that those two are connected, and that's on the earth. So it's just sending that 5 volts straight to earth. I'm just going to bridge the pins using these little jumpers which I've put together. And that'll test my theory that this is indeed the issue, this component. Okay, so it's not pretty, but everything seems to be working continuity wise. Right, let me connect the keyboard and mouse, and I'll reposition the camera and we'll turn it on and see what happens. Mouse still isn't moving. Okay, so I've had a look around with the multimeter, and a bit of a plot twist here. I had the keyboard and mouse plugged into this port over here, and this is the ADB signal, and it should be getting through to these terminals here, and it's not. If we try the other port, we're getting a signal all the way through back down to the ADB chip, but if we connect this one, there's nothing here at all. So there's no signal getting through to the ADB chip that's controlling the mouse and keyboard stuff. So it looks like, I don't have a microscope or anything, but it looks like there's a break in the tracer right about here, which could have been me when I was cleaning off the old solder, or it could have happened when whatever happened to the filter, whether it blew up or whatever, it might have damaged it here somehow. But in any case, I think that's the issue. I'm going to put it back together again, plug the mouse and keyboard into the second port, and maybe it works then. So let's try it again. Okay, this is try number 347. Let's turn it on. And I've got to be honest, at this point I'm kind of running out of hope, and I just think it might be too difficult for me to fix. Wait, the mouse moved. Oh, that's not good. But the mouse moved for a second, kind of 1 step forward, 2 steps backwards. Okay, I've powered it on without the keyboard connected, and it's loaded up fine. So there's something about the keyboard being connected, even though it was working for a second on that boot up screen. There's something that the computer doesn't like about the keyboard, and it's getting stuck at that Welcome to Macintosh screen. Since I've replaced that filter with solid wire, I am now tempted just to plug in the keyboard and just see. So I might do that. We're moving it. So we're able to get past the boot screen, plug in the mouse, and now we can move it around. So I guess it's a little way forward. Well, I don't quite know what to say. This caught me a bit off guard. I thought I'd put the machine back together because I had sort of got to the end of what I knew what to do, and I was going to do some more research. And to stop all the pieces lying all over the bench, I thought I'd put it back together. So I put the hard drive back in. I soldered a patch wire where that previous tracer had broken on the board. So I have the mouse plugged into the previous broken ADB port and the keyboard plugged into the other one. I had them plugged in when I turned it on, and it booted up fine. And here we are on the desktop. So I think it's fixed. I'm a bit hesitant to say that, and I do say that with some caveats, as it still needs that this thing here, this filter piece. But for now, I think we've got a working Macintosh. So I'm just going to put it back together, and we'll have a play and see what's on here. Well, it's back together and it's fixed and it's working. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I didn't think I would be saying this and being able to end this video. I thought it was just a lost cause. I was really stuck through this one and just was pretty much out of my depth with fixing it and didn't think I'd get it done. Now, there's something strange about this machine. It does say FD-HD on the front, and it's got these two floppies which the FD-HD models came with. You could get them two ways. You could get them with two floppies or a floppy and a hard drive. This has two floppies and a hard drive, so I believe it's been spec'd up somewhere along the line. The other interesting thing is on the back it says Macintosh SE, and it lists it as 1 megabyte RAM, 800K drive. So I think it's had a new back case put on at some stage in its life, but it's in pretty good condition, the whole unit, so we'll just leave it as it is. So the other thing that leads me to believe that it's actually a proper FD-HD is that those models had the battery removable on the motherboard. The original SE had the battery soldered in, and as we saw, the battery just popped straight out. Now, the other interesting thing about this machine is that when we looked at the motherboard, we saw that all of the RAM slots were populated. Now, the original actually came with all of those slots populated with the 256 K module in each one, giving you 1 megabyte of RAM, and the upgraded version that had 2 megabytes of RAM had two 1 megabyte sticks, so it had only two of them populated. So I assumed after learning that this was indeed just the base 1 megabyte of RAM, as it says on the back. But when I looked and find it, it's got 4 megabytes of RAM, which is the maximum that these machines can handle. So someone's upgraded that along the way as well. It's a great machine. I'm pretty happy with it. It's got all the sort of upgrades that I would have wanted to do anyway, and the parts are really hard to find now. So I'm glad it's all been done for me. But I think there's only one thing left to do, and that's to turn it on and have a look at what's on here. So everything's connected. Let's turn it on. And if we go up here and we'll have a look at about the Finder, we can see it's got that 4 meg of RAM I was talking about. It's using very little, and it makes this computer feel nice and snappy. Now we're talking. So these look like games. Jackpot. Check this out. Beyond Dark Castle and Dark Castle. Oh, no, it fell down. So I remember playing this game with my cousin. He was really good at it. But it's impossibly hard. It's just so hard. I mean, those bats, they just come straight for you. Just get that one. No. Oh, get him. Got him. And this one. Oh, come on. Didn't even touch me. Ah, that bat. Oh, what happened there? Ah! Oh my god, this is the hardest game in the world. What's with all these corridors? Oh, what do I do about it? Nothing. I've just noticed it's actually got speech, and that's incredible. Really incredible. Ah, I see, we're flying through a grid. Can we go down here? No, we can't. Load Runner. I love that game on the C64. I used to play this all the time as a kid. Dead. Oh no. Dead. How do I dig the hole? Oh. Ah, dang it. Yeah, it's been a few years. Well, I don't want to bore you guys with my bad game playing for the rest of the video, so I'll sign off here. Thanks for joining me today. You've been in the basement.